I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Ooh, it's a little dark, huh? And I was gonna fix my camera. Well, here, listen to this while I'm fixing my camera. Let's see, let's find a good track. Yeah, there we go. This is better. Shameless plug, I know. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing this. Streaming to advertise my music and also to raise money for, you know, civilians that are impacted by war. So whatever donation you want to throw at me, it's gonna go to a charity, I promise. So man, I was like, I've just been jamming on, I've been coming up with some stuff. Pretty cool, yeah. The Vaporwave Doom was cool. You guys already heard Vaporwave Doom yesterday. Oh, and I'm doing laundry in the background. If you can hear the dryer, that's funny. You get the idea. That's just, you know, some kind of genre that I like to fuck around with. Just so you have an idea of the kind of guy you're supporting over here. There's a couple other ones. I think the Vaporwave Doom one was the best one I had. Did I already play this one? We just played this one. I got another one, I swear. You get the idea there. That one's not as cool as the Vaporwave Doom one. Let's all agree. This is the shit. This is my last day of not having, last day of I don't want to say unemployment, you know, freelancing is fun, but I've had 2 weeks of no, it's not been 2 weeks, maybe a week of no work. I got like a week of work and then another non-week of work. I guess Thanksgiving break is over. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I hope you all had a fancy Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys didn't fight too much. Although, you know, fighting is good. I don't think people realize this. Fighting with your family is good. And if your family can't fight, if you can't fight with your family, then you are oppressed. If you can't voice your opinion in your household, if your opinions are too radical, and you're worried that you're going to get disowned, let go, alienated, then I'm sorry, but your family sucks. And it's sad. I'm like pretty. I'm like, and what's crazy is like I'm aligned. I'm aligned with most of my family, even on the left for sure, but like maybe even parts of the right. I don't even know, but it is really weird that whoever's not in power just wants to destroy whoever's in power. So like the people that are like by default anti-government and anti-state, it's just funny because you're not when your people are on power. So we get to watch that. Next 4 years, all those anti-institutionalists are gonna be pro-institution all of a sudden. We'll see. Probably not. But that's what's fun, they always want to critique whoever's in power at any given moment. So we'll see what the contrarians will do once they have power. It's just funny because I don't know. Part of it is like it's a joke. Okay, I gotta get back out into these fucking dogs. Okay, this game is pretty. This game is. Are you down here? This game is fun. But I wish bullets were more ubiquitous. And and it made me hate dogs. Did I get everything from over here? I think so. I don't know why, but yeah, beer is not what you want to drink when you have health problems. But I'm just gonna drink it all. I'm gonna watch my health go up a little bit, but bread helps. Okay, so the beer doesn't help, the vodka doesn't help. There's no reason. Is there any? Do you get energy from it? I don't know. No bullets. 6 bullets. 16 bullets. 5 grenades. A knife that literally, dude, knives do nothing in this game. What is the point? Other than just being unarmed? Alright, I gotta find that cave. I'm pretty sure it's over here. The idea is to stay away from the dogs. Fuck a dog. Shit. Damn it. Come out. See what I mean? These dogs suck. But it seems like I got some friends helping me out, so. I think he's sniping from the roof. Nice. Alright, thanks, bud. I guess. Unless they're shooting me too, I don't know.
Very cool.
Fuck. Sneaky little bastard. I guess, you know, it's not anti-feminist to call dogs bitches, right?
Keep them in your sight. I'll move to cover.
God damn it. Help me, friends.
He's hiding there somewhere.
I got no...
Keep them in your sight.
No, I got nothing, bro. Sorry. I'm useless. I'm gonna have to take your stuff. Alright, I'm back in.
I'm out.
But you sucked his dick. So what is the point? Fuck you. Come on in to the anomaly. Yeah, so what is the point of the anomaly again? Maybe it was my fault that I didn't play Stalker 1 first. That probably would have been... It's suddenly warm in here. But yeah, I grew up in a town like this, you know? People think that Ukraine is, you know, underdeveloped, but you know what? So is Oklahoma, okay? So is Pennsylvania. Shit, man. Half of my family's from the South, and you know, the South, and I'm talking like South Carolina and Mississippi and Tennessee. These places, I imagine, are not much better than Eastern European countries. We have this illusion of like, and honestly, I don't know. America could be Russia if we just gave worse people power. You know, if we gave people like Trump power all the time. Whoa. Did I just get stuck in an anomaly? What the fuck? But yeah, I think, you know, we're all human beings, and the same factors come together. When the same factors come together, people can experience similar travesties, you know? It's not like Germany was some backward, retarded country before you know, World War II. Is it here? No, I keep coming into this spot. I found it once before, and can I... Ooh. Ooh, hell yeah. Do you think I'm gonna find those bad guys again? I don't want to find those bad guys again. I want to find this house that has the cave. And I think it's here. You know, I wish that guy would have... What is his name again? Solder? Solder? Do they say solder or solder? You know, and does it matter because it's British? Everybody's British in this game, apparently. You know, it's like we're fighting in Ireland. And I'm the IRA. I honestly don't know. I mean, I've got some Irish roots, I think, or Welsh roots, one of the two. But are there situations? I feel like their situations are similar. It's just Wales never fought. But yeah, Wales didn't fight, and I don't think they got a great deal from it. Okay, there is a bastard monster down here. Got 10 bullets here, a knife, 11 bullets here. Some more bullets, that's great. So just in case you're just tuning in, this is STALKER 2, and I'm streaming this because the fuck. I'm streaming this because it's the guy from the Where the fuck are you? What the fuck? You were just over there. You're fast too, huh? Do you work? I get one shot. And a jam, sweet. And I can't get out. That's awesome. Surviving out here. Oh! Come on, do you... This thing doesn't want to die. He just doesn't want to. Okay. Well, now that I'm dead, let me put on some in the background. Oh, that was my... Sorry, that was my keyboard. Got a bunch of saved stuff. Let's listen to panel of caged average Americans. Oh, this is The Onion from 13 years ago. 2-minute clip.
This is the Onion News Network. Not watching is an act of defiance.
With the national debt hitting historic levels, today Congress is debating a controversial new bill which could save billions in federal spending each year by cutting 12 states from the union. Political analysts have been weighing in on the issue all day here on the Onion News Network. But what do regular folks think about the bill? Well, to find out, let's check in with the average Americans we keep on hand here in the Fact Zone. Hello again, guys. Now, you're not experts. You're just regular Americans that we brought in off the street. What are your reactions to the state-cutting proposal?
Oh, wow, really?
Roger?
Water.
My grandkids don't know where I am.
Okay, the proponents of the bill are saying that it's a great way to rid America of some of the dead weight states, like Rhode Island, Montana, North Dakota. Do you agree?
Yes, I agree. I agree with it.
Pamela?
Sure, I agree. Whatever you want.
Roger?
Yeah, whatever you say,
Please
lady.
go home.
Okay, Roger, the people in Washington don't care what I think. They care what you, the real voters, think. So this is your chance to tell them what you think about this bill. Do you agree with it or not?
Sure, I agree with it.
Me too.
Roger, that is not an answer.
Come on, man, just answer her.
Fine, I agree with the plan.
Uh-oh, see, now the sensors are indicating that you're lying, Roger, and that's not allowed. We need real answers from real Americans here.
Come on, man, just
I'm not
answer.
stupid.
You're making it worse for everyone, Roger.
I don't like it.
There you go. Okay, so basically 2 out of 3 regular Americans are for the state-cutting proposal. Great. Now, guys, this is a very important story, obviously, but we also recognize that there are other issues that are important to you right now. What are some of those, Lewis?
I guess the economy, jobs.
Okay, good. Economy, jobs are important to Lewis. Roger.
Less pay.
Less pain, Pamela.
Killing you and escaping.
So basically, a wide range of issues here. Listen up, Washington. This is real America talking. Thanks so much, guys.
I am going to kill you. I swear to God, I am going to.
Oh, we'll check back in with them and see how their opinions have changed once they've had their feeding.
You just gotta stab it. I figured it out. Ah! Fuck you,
Is being woke
stupid.
good or bad? Well, it depends greatly on what you mean by woke. Now, I've scoured the internet for a consistent definition of woke, and what I found was that perception of what the term stands for is very clearly demarcated along political affiliation. Left-leaning people tend toward an approximation of the first definition in Webster's dictionary, which is, quote, aware of and actively attentive to important societal facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social justice, unquote. While right-leaning people tend toward the second definition, quote, politically liberal or progressive, as in matters of racial and social justice, especially in a way that is considered unreasonable or extreme, unquote. Now, it originally meant the first definition, but throughout recent political discourse, the term was co-opted and turned into the second definition in order to disparage. Throughout most of my search, I found that people using it to disparage varied greatly in how they tried to define it. They weren't very consistent. Some had difficulty defining it at all.
Would you mind defining woke? It's come up a couple times, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Can you die, you fucker?
I mean, woke is sort of the idea that,
Some defined it as assigning viewpoints to entire groups.
It's a basis for madness. When people say the gay, who are you talking about? It's like, women think this. Oh, really? 50% of the species all agree on something. Blacks say this. Really?
And some defined it as the perfect opposite, being restricted from assigning viewpoints to entire groups.
People always ask, what is the definition of woke? Well, the definition of woke, as I mentioned in the book, is the making sacred of historically marginalized race, gender, and sexual identity groups. That's it.
Now, that last clip is very interesting to me.
This guy's weird, by the way. Dark Matter 2525. I'm not a huge fan,
to
but this guy just happens to be
and the
on
word sacred is
today's
what
list.
led him into his own trap. He talks about historically marginalized groups, such as gender, race, and sexual orientation, as being sacred. In other words, unassailable, unable to blaspheme against. But here's my question. What legitimate criticism or negative statement can be levied at an entire race or an entire gender or an entire sexual orientation? Now, if someone said, quote, the problem with black people is ABC, or the problem with women is XYZ, wouldn't we immediately recognize that as racists or sexist? Because you're shoehorning every one of those groups into a box of problems based on their immutable characteristics. How do you correct immutable characteristics? Genocide? Eugenics? What? So, yes, we have decided as a society to not discriminate based on certain demographics like race, gender, and sexual orientation. Isn't that a good thing? Calling that sacred does not excuse bigotry, does it? And calling that woke doesn't make woke a bad thing, does it? Years ago, people would have described me as anti-woke, because I openly expressed dislike of what some people would associate with wokeness today. But my dislike was rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding. It took me too long to realize this, but my dislike was not for a specific group of people, which is the same mistake that right-leaning people are making now. My dislike was for a specific set of traits that anybody of any group could possess. It's just that sometimes people are willing to overlook these traits if they're held by people of their own group.
Did I do
Typical tribalism.
Yeah!
These are the traits.
You are some
obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacking self-awareness.
Alright, well, I killed the thing.
Now, these are often a package deal. I associated those traits with certain groups, rather than the more accurate approach of attributing them to the individuals who exhibited those traits. The truth is that someone who is woke might not have any of those traits, while someone who is intensely anti-woke could have every single one of them. But the right-wing media sphere is a juggernaut that searches for, outright invents, or focuses upon the most extreme, legit or not, and then elevates that, puts a spotlight on it as the norm. So people end up with a lopsided view of reality, and if you don't agree with them, then you are called a cuck, a simp, a beta, soy boy, and any one of a million other emasculating terms that works very well on insecure young men. And they are experts at controlling the narrative. Now, when I was a kid, about once a month or so, I'd visit a relative of mine who was a pretty staunch feminist. And I remember one time when my brother and I were driving in the car with her, and somebody driving in front of us made her very frustrated. And eventually they turned without using a turn signal. And I never forgot what she said in response to that. She said, quote, "Men don't know how to use turn signals." That was very peculiar to me, even as a child. I remember that you couldn't even see the car's driver, couldn't even tell if they were a man or a woman. She just assumed. And she was making a disparaging statement about something I was going to become one day, a man. That fact did not escape my young mind. She frequently made disparaging statements about men in general, and it made me wonder if one day she was going to hate me too.
Yes, she
I
will.
wondered if it was only my existence as a child that made me acceptable to her.
No, it don't.
I didn't
know. But it doesn't matter because
what rubbed me the wrong way, which I could not quite
shouldn't care
express
about what
back
people
then,
think.
Was that she had
I think
those
bad things all the
traits
time doesn't
I
mean those things are real.
She was obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacked self-awareness. Now, as a result, she did things that she did not like when men did them. Misogynistic men made assumptions about her because she was a woman, and so she did the same back to them. She became what she hated, and something I've constantly warned you against throughout the life of my channel. Hate nobody, or those you hate will shape you into what you will be. It made me feel toward her the same way I already felt toward religious people at an early age. Religious people aggravated me because they made assumptions about me based on the simple fact that I did not believe what they believed. They ascribed to me all sorts of ulterior motives, things that never even entered my thought process. Like, I just wanted to sin, or that I hated God, or that I was rebelling, or that I just wanted to live by my own rules, or that I hated them, etc. And the list was endless, but none of that was true. And they were so easily offended. My mere existence as a non-believer offended them. How dare I disbelieve what they believed? I was 8 years old the first time I told someone that I did not believe God existed. And this was before I even knew the word atheist. And the reason I remember it so well is because of the reaction I received. It was a classmate. We were both in the second grade at the time.
The comments.
His name was David, and I even remember his last name too, but I won't say it. It begins with a V. So David V mentioned something about God.
So there's a bunch of dudes
and I told him
here.
that God is just another fairy tale, just like all the other fairy tales that the adults tell us. That's truly how I saw it at the time. And he told me that I'm going to burn in
Hail.
And what struck me was that he looked happy about it. He
True.
was grinning when he said it.
Yep.
And I think that helped instill in me the idea that not everything that is
If you don't think
claimed
like me,
to be
then
good
fuck you. That's
really
the idea.
truthfully is good. That was one of the lessons that taught me about the inconsistencies of life. Here we had someone who was a Christian, who
There's
we
the
were
entrance.
supposed to think of as good people, yet he was reveling in the idea of someone else's pain and suffering, my pain and suffering. And it wasn't like I was ever mean to him.
Oh, I remember
He
Brock.
had no
I remember
reason to
Broccoli.
hate
I remember
me.
that name.
Yet he still seemed to like the idea of my torture. And that stuck with me. After that, it aggravated me when people used religion as a shortcut to tell if someone was a good person, or that their lack of religion was a way to tell that they're a bad person. I remember someone telling me that they knew my brother was a good person because
Where
they
is
saw the
the
Christian
artifact?
bumper sticker on his car. I couldn't put my finger on it yet, but there was a certain commonality among the people that aggravated me. I did not yet know that this type of person was not limited to any one ideology. They could really be
It
anybody.
should be in here.
It wasn't a trait inherent to feminism or religion, and I didn't really truly figure it out until around 2016, much later in life.
Where is it?
That was when I started
This is
to
annoying.
truly understand that it was these traits that I disliked. Obsessive, easily offended, hypocritical, and lacking self-awareness. And that was the real problem I had with my
says it's right
feminist
there.
relative and many of the religious people I argued with over the years. It wasn't their feminism, and it wasn't their religion.
Dude, I'm not enjoying
It
this.
was their specific behavior
Oh.
for which they alone are responsible.
Is it?
In order to learn that lesson,
Is it in the house?
I had to witness a remarkable shift in the zeitgeist. That happened in the mid-2010s. Now, at first, I was making the exact same mistake of attributing those characteristics to a specific group of
I'm getting
people.
radiation poisoning. I'm
What
trying to
taught
figure
me
this
the
out.
lesson was the reaction to them. During the years around 2014, we had a term for those people, which we called
Alright, we're gonna go up
SJW,
in that house.
which stood for Social Justice Warrior. People don't usually use that term anymore because it has
guy's going straight.
been
This is
fundamentally subsumed
pretty good.
by the term woke.
It's a good
They're
story.
essentially synonymous now, though their etymology is a bit different. Back then, around a
it's
decade
in
or
this
so
house.
before this recording, it was popular to make fun of SJWs. I was essentially on the vanguard against
These fucking
wokeism
dogs,
back then.
dude.
Now, a lot of people developed entire careers out of doing that. Nobody took it terribly seriously beyond comedic purposes, though. The comedy was very easy and in demand, so naturally it flourished. I made a cartoon that was doing great numbers and going viral. It was called If God Became an SJW.
Why?
Now, when I
Everything that
realized
has-
the truth of what was really going on, I put that video on private so that it would not be seen anymore. I made a mistake by making that cartoon, and correcting that mistake was not pain-free, as that video was pretty lucrative. But I can't stand by something that I don't believe in just for the money. As a lot of you who are familiar with my work know, I no longer make videos.
This drink is
like that, and I have not done
anti-radioactive
it
drink.
for a long time
Radiation
now.
drink.
I've even been accused of being woke now, which is
For fuck's sake.
very funny to me. So, what changed? See, a lot of people disliked SJWs for the same reason that I disliked religion, because we generalized the people in those groups based on the more extreme ones who seemed very obsessive, very hypocritical, lacked self-awareness, and were easily offended. And nobody likes walking on eggshells. Nobody likes their language being policed, like blasphemy, or to be lectured, like sermons, or to be accused of certain things just on the basis of immutable characteristics. Born
I
into
found it.
sin. Like being a man, or being white, or straight, etc. To anti-SJWs, that seems to be ironically racist and sexist. That fed into my belief that they were hypocritical and lacked self-awareness. The things that I disliked so much. So I was motivated
Well, this thing's
to
definitely
mock
in
them.
that house. I'm
In
pretty sure.
hindsight, I know that many of them
So
had
hopefully I don't have to
valid
kill that
concerns,
monster
but
again.
were perhaps expressed in ways that
That
weren't very
mutated human.
diplomatic and much more accusatory. To make sense of why I did not stay the course in an anti-woke direction, it would help to understand a little bit of the history involved. Much of the movement against the SJWs, and eventually the woke, as they're called now, can be exemplified in the massive pop culture backlash against a woman named Anita Sarkeesian and what she represented. She started a non-profit organization called Feminist Frequency. She was a
There's too
critic
many
of modern
keys
media,
close together
like movies and
that
video
just
games.
makes this game
But rather than examining
annoying.
them from the perspective of technical
But
competence
I don't play
or
these types of
artistic
games
value,
too often.
like most critics, she evaluated them from a perspective of positive or negative cultural impact, usually in terms of whether or not the movie or video game was problematic in how it portrayed women or various minority groups, or even that they weren't portrayed at all, that they didn't have enough representation. And I think that she felt we as a society had become too accustomed and accepting of how these various demographics are treated in our media or left out altogether, which has an effect on our perceptions. And some of the things she criticized were pieces of media that we loved. And I think a lot of people
you
felt
can
personally
roar-
attacked by that. We
Okay.
were being called guilty
Come
for
here.
liking things that
Come
she
here,
considered
puppy.
problematic. For example, she would criticize things like impractical
Did I get him?
armor for women in video games that was too
All right.
skimpy, or the women were too sexualized, or the camera focused a bit too much on a woman's sexual characteristics,
58
which
meters.
was called the male gaze. And these were things that most guys liked, including myself. So it seems like the industry catered to guys for the most part. And she argued that it should cater to everyone. She gained traction in mainstream media too, and it was even reported that she
Okay,
started
I'm very
consulting
confused
in
about
game
this.
development. And I think that
I was
scared a
tasked
lot
with
of people.
finding an artifact
But
in the cave.
I think that she was welcomed
And
as a
all I found down there
consultant
was a
because
monster.
naturally these companies wanted to broaden
except
their
for this
audiences,
area.
which would make them more profitable. And she found some success too, and a lot of people claimed that it was not organic success. She was receiving a lot of funding for her work, and some of her most ardent detractors would point out that her work did not reflect the amount of funding she was receiving.
Oh, no, it's
Basically,
here.
it was an accusation of grifting before that term was very common. But I don't think it's accurate to call her a grifter because I think she was a true believer in her cause. Grifters, on the other hand, don't really care about the cause. The cause is just whatever is popular at the moment. Now, on a surface level, it doesn't really sound like there's anything wrong with any of that, right? But I was far from alone in thinking that something about the way it was executed seemed off. It rubbed me the wrong way, enough to the point where I also started criticizing SJWs. Now, at first, it was the obsessive nature of it that bothered me. It's one of the main things that bothered me about religion,
Should I go down
too.
there?
I saw it as getting offended about every little thing. but not just merely getting offended about something you happened to see or hear. It seemed like it was a movement that sought out offense to point at, like they actively desired to be offended. For instance, if I were to behave the same way in terms of religion, my channel would look very different than it does now. My channel is critical of organized religion, but for me, it would be like, instead of getting...
Okay, I'm going to read the super chats to this guy. Okay, so he's saying... One guy spent 50 euros, and he said, out of deepest respect and sincere admiration, I take my hat off to you, sir. Your monologue masterfully analyzes just about everything that is currently wrong with political discourse, and not just in your country. It would probably be going too far to continue this train of thought and extrapolate the most likely outcome of the current course. But as a German, I'm quite frankly terrified by the human capacity to repeat historical, catastrophic errors of judgment. Unlike all my American colleagues and friends, us Germans were, to the most part, thoroughly educated about the events and the socio-economic situations that made Adolf Hitler's rise to power possible in 1933. In light of recent events in the US, especially the normalization of hatred and bigotry, the rise of fantasized leaders and gullible followers, a comparison like this is literally inevitable. And none of us, regardless of which side of the pond we live on, would ever want to see a repetition of the events that followed after January 1933 in the darkest pit of German history. I am gonna say this as a American. You know what's worse than Germany having a repeat of Chancellor Adolf Hitler? Is if America ever goes fascist. That would be the scariest thing. Not just for the U.S. I think people in the U.S. are a little bit... Okay, I've got two thoughts in this. But number one is, if America ever became fascist, yeah, it would suck for like black people and Latino people, gay people, etc. in the United States. But imagine if the Nazis had the military power of the United States Air Force and Navy, and if they were the dominant military in the world already. Hitler turned a bankrupt country into Europe's premier war machine, comparable to the Soviet Union. They could have probably taken out the Red Army had the Americans not financed them, or joined the war effort to begin with. Had we just stayed out of it, you know what I'm saying. So this is the problem with staying out of it. This is the problem with staying out of foreign wars. This is the point of American interventionism. The America First people sided with Hitler back in, we've all heard this. So, I digress.
Getting into religious doctrine itself, or instead of talking about the various ways religion is affecting our politics, it would be as if I watched movies and video games with an ear attentively waiting for someone to mention Christ, or to present themselves as a Christian, or to find someone in a movie wearing a cross or praying or anything like that, and then obsessively deconstructing it, how it's problematic, how there's no equal representation for atheists or other religions. It would be as if I would not be able to enjoy media that has Christian elements. But that's just not the case for me. I don't mind Christian elements in movies and games. But what if they portrayed atheists negatively or inaccurately? Maybe then I could empathize a little better with what Anita was doing, but I just didn't think of it that way. Regardless, shallow and seeking offense is how I perceived critical analysis by SJWs anyway. And I think other people perceived that as well. So it became a game to be offensive to them, to get their attention and then laugh at them for it, to actively seek to trigger them, as it was called. So it was a bit of a symbiosis for a while. They sought to be offended while others sought to offend them. And back then, the term "you mad bro" was popular. It was widely perceived that getting mad or
This is
getting
my
offended
boomstick.
meant that you lost the game, lost the debate. So even if you weren't mad or offended, it was a common tactic to portray you as such, as a shortcut to winning. And because the SJWs were always complaining about racism and sexism, a lot of people realized that making racist and sexist jokes was a great way to trigger them. Unfortunately, I think that inadvertently created a more earnest pipeline of sorts. People constantly made fun of how weak and thin-skinned the SJWs were. Snowflakes, they were constantly called. It turned into a cottage industry. When Anita Sarkeesian uploaded a video, for example, it was like a gold rush. Anti-SJWs would download the video, tear it apart, make fun of it, criticize it, re-upload it, and collect the ad rev. It was almost like a race. And that process was repeated for all sorts of people deemed SJW. The people advocating for SJW causes were essentially funding their own
Who
opposition.
knew? My biggest enemy in this game would be a dog.
To college campuses, where there were plenty of young people who were excited about fighting back against racism and sexism, and because they were young, maybe they weren't the best at expressing themselves, and maybe they did not realize that their own emotion and passion was the lifeblood of the comedic skits that would use them as punchlines. I have no doubt that entire mortgages have been paid off just from making fun of college kids. And so the anti-SJW movement grew into a juggernaut, starting out as just purely a comedic response, trolling and mocking, but then gradually morphed into something very serious and political.
Where
an
is this
actual
damn
movement.
artifact
The
that I'm supposed to find?
unserious, racist, and sexist jokes morphed into sincerely held beliefs and political stances. And I noticed that those who spoke out against the obsessive were becoming quite obsessive themselves. You are what you hate. Donald Trump was very much a centerpiece of that backlash. He came up during a very unique moment of the political history of the United States. Conventional wisdom regarding political correctness went right out the window. The stage at that time was set in such a way that a lot of people didn't care how offensive Trump was. They were tired of the offense takers and even wanted him to be as offensive as possible, just as a fuck you.
Yeah.
Essentially, that is what became fashionable, be offensive. Of course, there were a lot of people who were still highly disturbed by Trump, but not enough to keep him from being elected. And that was a mandate against political correctness. It was pretty much explicit permission, and other politicians got the message loud and clear.
See, in the beginning of the
that
game,
was the
when I
beginning
found the
of
first
the turning
artifact,
point for me. Though I
it
never
was in
voted
some
for
acid
Trump.
like this in a
2016, after
and
he won,
it was
I was
pretty
one of the
easy
people
to
telling
find.
others to calm down.
But this is
that
exceptionally
it wasn't
difficult.
a big deal. Don't overreact. I admit that I even did some partaking in making fun of people who were very upset about the Trump victory, and I am not proud of that. Afterward, everything kicked into high gear. The anti-SJW content went on steroids. Feminist-owned compilations became super popular. Owning
This guy is
college
just
kids,
riffing.
every debate had
This
to be
guy has
about
just been
some
riffing for
SJW getting
45
utterly
minutes. It's
destroyed,
impressive.
all caps. The internet was totally saturated with content mercilessly mocking
I think he's reading
anyone
a
who
script.
even mentioned anything about racism or
Or he took some
sexism.
notes.
Anyone who would do such a thing was accused
This
of
is 0 meters.
virtue signaling and slapped
Like-
with the SJW or woke label. The term woke was starting to get used more at this point. It was becoming mainstream. Even politicians and old ladies were using the word woke in their many complaints. I started seeing some signs that disturbed me very much.
Saw signs.
Everything was being highly exaggerated.
Do you see
And
the
the
dang
jokes
artifact?
and the
Anybody?
comedy gradually shifted into the realm of anger and hatred. The anti-SJWs took on the obsessive nature of the people they criticized and adopted it for themselves. Entirely unintentionally, I'm sure, because if they could actually see themselves objectively, I don't think they would like what they saw. And that is, of course, a lack of self-awareness. See, now it wasn't a movement about just merely getting offended about something they happened to see or hear. It was a movement that actively sought out offense to point at, like they actively desired to be offended. No longer was it a movement about laughing at anger, it was a movement about getting angry. Suddenly the rule that inspired "you mad brah" no longer applied. The rules changed when the offense changed. Now the winner was whoever could get the most angry. But that was still a double standard. If the other side got angry, it was still funny and mocked. But if your side got angry, it was based and applauded. Consider this woman. You've all seen this image. This is the face of 1 billion thumbnails, still used on uploads and memes to this day.
It's right here.
Have you ever seen the source material? It's quite short.
There's not rapists coming in just because they're refugees doesn't mean they're fucking rapists. But they're raping people in Germany. You know, my parents are immigrants. My fucking parents are immigrants. No, not even a fucking big city. Get raped. You know how many?
One in every 3
Fuck
minutes.
ton, a
That
fuck
means
ton.
an all-American.
That's a crisis. There's a rape crisis. Exactly.
Anybody else stealing the anxiety?
I want you all. I love you all. I love you all.
This woman did not get triggered or belligerent or even a fraction as excited or angry as any one of us has ever been before. If you look at the comments section, you'll see that everyone openly realizes it and admits it and feels bad for how she was immortalized. She was the only one in the argument actually offering statistics rather than emotions. But there's one frame in which she made a funny face. Now, her entire existence is encapsulated by that. That's
It's not that.
how absurd the anti-SJW movement became when they sought offense. Even a single frame was enough for them to latch onto, was enough for them to convict and condemn you. Suddenly, around them, you had to walk upon the thinnest of eggshells. What's especially funny about this meme is that the source material originally came from the Alex Jones channel,
Dios
and we all
míos,
know how calm and
it's
collected
right-
Alex
it should
Jones
be right here.
is. The anti-woke had become obsessive,
I like this Dark
hypocritical,
Matter guy.
lacked self-awareness, and incredibly easily offended. Today, the Anita
I don't know what to
Sarkeesian
do,
business
man.
model is extremely successful in the opposite direction. She became the model for the very people who hated her guts. Now we have reverse Sarkeesian media critics who consume movies and video games with the objective to actively seek out whatever in them can be construed as being woke. And they are legion. The critical drinker, nerdrotic, the quartering, heel versus babyface, etc. are all reverse Sarkeesians, but far more fanatical than she ever was. They can't simply enjoy
that gas
a movie
mask.
or video game for what it is. No, they have
And I
to
feel like I would
actively
be-
examine it through an anti-woke magnifying glass to determine if someone is black who should not be black, to determine if a woman is being portrayed in a role that has deviated too far from their traditional expectations, to determine if someone said or did something that was just too gay, because that would be pushing an agenda, which they call the message. Now it's all about deconstructing media with a fine-toothed comb
I don't
to
understand.
uncover any little detail that could possibly be used as red meat for a voracious anti-woke audience. Offense perfected. And they can be as triggered as they want to be. See, that's the double standard. This woman cannot afford to make a single frame of a funny face without her expression being immortalized in a billion thumbnails. But this guy can literally scream at the camera for 15 minutes because an RPG asked the preferred pronoun for his character. And
True.
he even uses her face in his thumbnails. Hypocrisy perfected. This woman is quite routinely mocked. Another face of a billion memes and thumbnails. 5 seconds or so of uncontrolled despair about the President of the United States, a topic of actual consequence. But 15 minutes of even more rage over a pronoun in a video game. And the same people call it based. In 2015, on my alternate channel called Dark Antics, I made a satire critiquing the shallowness of social justice
H
media criticism.
is just unhanding.
It even
Okay.
picked up some traction in the mainstream media, like The Independent. Basically, I used the format of nitpicking media that presented bald people in a negative light. This was as easy as pointing
Yeah, this is
out all
probably
the
pretty
many
annoying for
bad or
probably
evil characters who were bald,
Never gonna
and
have
pointing
any
out
viewers
the
if I just
flaws
keep doing
of
this.
good characters who were
I don't know
bald.
what else to do
This was
here.
exceptionally easy to do. Essentially a heads I win,
No.
tails you lose way of doing things. So no matter what narrative you want to push, you can use it to shoehorn
I should have
perceived
killed all the
problems
dogs,
into
so-
virtually any movie. Now, in the description, I called it a criticism of how professional victims critique media. But notice that I never privated that video like I did with my popular anti-SJW cartoon. Why? Well, because today, now, that video perfectly applies to the anti-woke.
Right.
What happened is that they became what they hated. The anti-woke became the woke, or at least their own characterization of what the woke is.
Where are you at?
But it's even worse than that. The anti-woke perfected being their own characterization of woke, turned it into a standardized business model even. Even their own slogan, "Get woke, go broke," is tacit admission. They took what Anita Sarkeesian pioneered and perfected
How many dogs
in
do
the
I have
opposite
to
direction.
kill?
Now we have grown men with beards wearing flannel shirts, making millions of dollars, obsessively scrutinizing the development of the next Snow White movie. Grown men actively, earnestly seeking ways to be triggered by a Barbie movie.
True.
Ben Shapiro created a right-wing media empire, and yet there he is with the rest of them, burning Barbie dolls like a lunatic. This grown man with children had a camera set up in front of a metal garbage can so that he could do a toy burning performance. It's literally performative outrage, the epitome of
I
professional
burned
victim.
Barbie dolls when I was a kid.
They're so far in that they have no idea how embarrassing they are, how cringe they are. It's gotten to the point that a Fox News-addled 80-year-old can be more concerned about the wokes than about losing their social security. And lately, more and more, I'm thinking that's by design. As I observed this massive transition, I realized that it was not wokeness that I disliked. It was obsessive behavior and having to walk on eggshells around people. And obsessive behavior is not exclusive to wokeness, nor is it even a requisite of it. Right now, today, the anti-woke behaves 100 times more like the woke than the woke used to. Right now, today, I self-censor more when I talk to someone I consider anti-woke than someone I consider woke. I have to eliminate entire words from my vocabulary, like cis, or privilege, or patriarchy, or transphobic, and a million other words, because I know it will trigger a defense response. It will completely shut down their ability to listen to what I actually say, or have a good faith conversation at all. And I learned that from experience. An especially potent drug of the anti-woke is trans people. I don't really understand why, but when some people start being critical of trans people, they never stop. It's addictive to them. It snowballs and eventually becomes their entire personality. Obsessive. It's really sad to see. I think there have been people who have done that with Donald Trump, in which they talk about nothing else except Donald Trump. So they were accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. Of course, that term is thrown around too loosely now to describe anyone who merely criticizes him, which is ridiculous. But originally, it was meant to describe people who were obsessed with Donald Trump,
that are dead?
people who would bring him up out of the blue when nobody else was talking about him.
If you like dogs, this is not the game for you.
That concept now perfectly applies to people who get lost in anti-trans rhetoric. They have trans derangement syndrome. No matter the topic, they'll bring up trans people. They'll ask you, what is a woman? Out of the blue. Trans people are constantly on their minds. Obsessive. The most prominent of these people is J.K. Rowling. Obsession with trans people seems to be very detrimental to her mental health, to the point in which it's 90% of what she talks about now. But before that, she was a normal person who experienced a wonderful dream.
Yeah, anti-trans or trans derangement syndrome, I think is what they call it. And we are living in it. Okay, well, my shit got rocked. I'm tired of killing dogs, so I'm gonna end the stream. But it's nice to know that somebody came by, and if you want to like the stream, that'd be great. If you want to add a chat, you may. If you want to do a super chat, all of the donations will go to a Ukrainian or some war. You know, there's a lot of wars happening, The Myanmar thing's picking up. Nobody's really talking about that. The Syrian stuff is popping off. You know, the Israeli-Palestinian stuff's popping off. So, like, there's lots of charities out there. We can help the civilians. We can help the soldiers of whichever country you want to support. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're going to log off now. It was fun. I'm going to play Fallout New Vegas. And I'm going to do that on stream whenever I need one cable. I need the SDI to mini SDI in order to add. It's fucked up, man. Like, every time I play Vegas. So what happens is, I go to Fallout in Vegas, I hit play, and if somebody knows how to get around this, let me know. I hit play, and then and then it changes resolution to a resolution that my Black Magic switcher does not like. Oh, that's why. Let's see if I can change it here. I'm also using a Black Magic video assist, and I wonder if it does scaling. Aha. If we find I, yeah, there we go. Oh, that's sweet. The video assist also does LUTs. I need to look more into this. Oh, but yeah, it still isn't gonna work because, damn. How is it getting there? Oh yeah. Yeah, so what I would need to do is split it off. I have 3 outputs on the back of this GTX 3060. Yeah, you can't see what's going on right now. Let's see. You can't really see what I'm seeing. Alright, so, but basically, it looks like Fallout New Vegas operates in, or it broadcasts 1080i. And I tried to put a scaler between the two. Let me see if I can get it to work. So in the meantime, let's see, it's only 8:18. Okay, we have plenty of time. So while I'm trying to fix this, we're gonna listen to what Dave Pacman has to say about.
Well, he did it. Joe Biden has announced that he is pardoning his son, Hunter Biden. MAGA is losing it. Joe Biden did previously say he would not pardon Hunter Biden, making this even bigger news. NBC News, I believe, was the first to report President Biden
All he did, you know, they made up a bunch of stuff. I don't know, you know, what... Obviously, smoking crack is bad, okay? But going after... They went after him because Not because smoking crack is illegal, but because he's the president's son. They literally just went after his son, politically, just to fuck with him. Literally just to fuck with Joe Biden. Not because Hunter Biden was putting anybody in any danger, or not because of, I don't know, the corruption thing is, that's an interesting story, and I'd like to see it all broken down. I'm pretty sure they tried breaking it down. We can probably find a Dave Pacman video that like went over the details about it, but he worked at Burisma in, I don't know if it was in Kyiv or if it was in somewhere in the east, or if it was in Lviv or something like that. I don't even know if it was in, if it was in the east or the west or the capital. But he was working for Burisma, and he was getting paid a lot of money to work there, which was salient. I don't know if salient's the right word. Which was interesting. But I don't know if what he was doing was illegal. Who knows? But if the Republicans knew what he was doing, and if they knew he was doing bad stuff, they should just kind of come forward and explicitly say what bad stuff he was doing, right? But it is what it is. People coming up, people dropping off. It's nice. People are just kind of clicking on, saying hi, what's up? Okay, we're going back.
Pardons his son, Hunter Biden. We have a statement from the White House, which is, where is the statement from the White House? It's somewhere here. I know that we have it somewhere. Here it is. Today, I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision-making, and I kept my word, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties are typically given non-criminal resolutions. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. And Biden goes on to explain, and you can read the entire statement, that this is just not fair, that this was a political targeting not in line with the severity of Hunter Biden's actions. Whether that is or isn't true, here is Joe Biden just some months ago saying he will not pardon Hunter Biden.
Your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
I have ruled out a pardon. Yes. Have you ruled out a pardon? Yes, I have. Now, as I've said before, I agreed with not pardoning Hunter Biden. Of course, I agreed with not interfering. There was no evidence that Biden was involved in any way helping his son. That's obviously correct. It's not the way Trump would behave. And I was against a pardon for Hunter Biden. I am still against presidents pardoning their sons. And I also recognize that based on Donald Trump's cabinet choices, I 100% understand why Biden did it. I'm against it, and I know why Biden did it. We will talk later on in the program. Trump wants to put Kash Patel in charge of the FBI. This is twofold in its motivation. Number one, make sure that all of the data and documents about investigations into Trump never see the light of day, and also target the adversaries and political enemies of Trump and go after people. Go after the people Trump believes went after him. Trump believes that Biden orchestrated and puppet mastered the investigations and cases into Trump, and therefore Trump has every interest in sicking Kash Patel like a dog against Biden and Biden's family. There is every indication that Trump will try to do the things he said he would do. which includes going after Biden and his family. So I am against this game 100%. Presidential pardons for your son, but I get why Biden did it. And here's the real issue with this. Trump has carte blanche now to pardon whoever the hell he wants. In fact, there's more to it. Trump already pardoned whoever the hell he wanted. He pardoned Michael Flynn, and he pardoned, did he pardon Bannon? The list is so big I don't even remember. But look at Donald Trump's reaction to this, who posted to Truth Central, quote, "Does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the J6 hostages who have now been imprisoned for years? Such an abuse and miscarriage of justice." You know, the problem we now have, and it's so clear from what Trump is saying, Trump's going to pardon some of the January 6th rioters, there's no doubt about it. We are going to see all of that happen. But now when Trump does it, and we say, that's crazy, that's nepotism, it's cronyism, they say, David, leftists, progressives, Biden pardoned his own son. And the conversation kind of is over. Now, I will concede to you, it does appear that the way the Hunter cases were handled was not in line with typical prosecutorial discretion. I agree with Biden on that. But when you can just say, guys, who are you? He pardoned his own son. What do we say? And listen, I'm still against it, but I get why he did it. But now it really does give Trump carte blanche. And there is every reason, by the way, reporting is that Trump...
Uh-oh. That seems like it kind of worked. No. Nope. Wait a minute. That's funny. Things are happening. Things are happening. Well, I think I'm gonna call it because I just made things more complicated, and I can't even see my monitor right now. So I'm gonna get to the workshop, and then I'm gonna go to sleep, I guess. So ending the stream. Bye.